Hey friends, we're at a crossroads in medicine today. 1 billion of us go to a doctor in 1 year, right? And boy, we're on so many drugs. 70% of Americans take at least one drug. What's our problem? I think mold and the poisons they make, called mycotoxins, interfere with our health. Well, I know they do. It's documented in the scientific literature. So today we're going to talk about what happens if the building you're in is sick. Is it making you sick? And then toward the end of the show, I'll teach you what mycotoxins can do to your health. Mycotoxins are poisons made by mold. Did you know that? And they can make them inside your body. Of course, we're going to have turkey Thai meatballs that Abby will make that are all that and more on this Know the Cause. My name is Doug Kaufman. For the past 40 years, I've dedicated my life and even my career to finding the root cause of disease. Join me in a team of physicians, pharmacists, and scientists, and soon you too will know the cause. There you go, know the cause. How important is that, folks? When you don't know the cause, you end up running from doctor to doctor. You're put in hospital after hospital. You're given drug after drug. You know the story. Sometimes hospitals are absolutely necessary. I've always said if I get in a car wreck, I do not want someone to put a prune poultice on my broken arm, right? I want to go to a hospital and get it fixed. We thrive in emergency medicine. We're very, very good at that in America, but there are areas that we're sorely lacking. This antibiotic, this opioid epidemic we have, I mean, there are areas that could use improvement. So what is medicine, or what is healthcare? It is a $4 trillion business. 2012, healthcare had become a $3 trillion business. 2014, the annual U.S. healthcare spending hit 3.8. By 2021, healthcare could cost up to 4.8 trillion. Totally disagree with that. I think you're going to end up with 6 or 7 trillion. If you own a business, what you want in 2019 is more. If you own a hospital, what you want in 2019 is more. And it's a gluttonous business. It's kind of a self-serving business, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay, let's go to these are 3 areas that I think we're spending all the money in, right? Hospitals, prescription drugs, and doctor visits. So here we go. This is Richard Zane, a medical doctor. Current hospitals offer as many as 1,000 beds and have evolved into large, profitable, expensive, technology-laden institutions. Amen. Thank you, Dr. Zane. That's actually precisely what's happened in America. You end up in an emergency room, your chances of going into that hospital as a patient and then take out your, get out of jail free card, your insurance card, and man, away you go. The billing starts and starts and starts. And I kind of understand it. You have to employ 60 physicians or 600 physicians. They all need a paycheck, right? I've tried to stay out of that loop. I'm just different than most old guys, okay? So there's hospitals. Here's prescription drugs. I had no idea. 70% of Americans take at least one prescriptive drug. The number one reason for chronic health conditions like heart disease and diabetes. Well, that kind of makes sense. And number 2 reason is antidepressants are given. And number 3 reason is opioids. Folks, intertwined in all of that are millions, if not billions, of antibiotics. Antibiotics are known to induce a whole lot of problems, including C. diff, including several different kinds of common cancers. All I'm telling you during this segment is not don't go to a hospital or a doctor. I'm telling you to be careful out there. Man, we take our car in for a 3,000-mile oil change like a religion. And yet, we put our bodies in the presence of someone who doesn't know us, and they're making the decisions. Doctor visits, look at this, 2015, the last year I could find. Adults who had contact with doctors, 84%. Children who had contact with a doctor, 93% of Americans. Outpatient, hospital outpatient visits, about 126 million. Doctor office visits, about 885 million, and there's my note, 1 billion doctor office visits annually. What does all that mean, folks? I have a dear friend that I told you about that lives out on the West Coast who recently got a new liver. thank God they were there. His liver was really bad. He had an autoimmune disease, really bad, and he got the liver within, 6 weeks. Unprecedented. It was great. The doctors were amazing. I think they saved his life. And imagine taking a liver and replacing it, putting a new one in. Just imagine the brains that takes. Technology is a good thing, and we are flourishing in America, many of us, because of technology. But it's after the liver went in. The immunosuppressant drugs to prevent the liver from, being rejected. The antibiotics, the steroids, it's a never-ending litany of drugs and drugs and drugs. And by the way, he's back in the hospital now because his kidneys aren't doing so well after the liver has been replaced. So folks, we just need to think about this. You are free the moment you don't require someone else to help you get better. Welcome to Knowing the Cause. Knowing the cause is what this show is all about. Understanding why you had to go to a doctor in the first place, why the doctor put you in the hospital. Could it be as simple as a germ that you are eating or inhaling in your house every day? I think it could. Thank you for joining us on Know the Cause, and thanks for knowing the cause. Ever since Abby joined us in the kitchen, we have been having some scrumdiddlyocious foods, right? How about turkey Thai meatballs? Let's go in the kitchen right now with Abby and make some of them.
Hi, I'm Abby, and today we've got a special treat for you. We are making Thai turkey meatballs. Now this has a lot of ingredients, so you want to be sure when you're shopping for this, you check all of the ingredients labels to make sure everything is Kaufman 1 or Kaufman 2 approved. We're going to start off with 2 pounds of ground lean turkey meat. And we're going to add all these ingredients one by one. Adding 2 eggs already beaten up. We've got some light coconut milk. We've got some grated ginger paste. Put all that in there. We've got some grated garlic. There's about 2 cloves of garlic. We've got some red curry paste. We've got chopped basil. It's about 2 tablespoons worth of chopped basil. We have fish sauce. Chopped green onions, or chives, as they're also called. Let's get all those in there. We've got a cup of finely diced cabbage. Now I cheated a little bit on this. I bought a package of pre-chopped coleslaw mix, and I just chopped it up a little bit more because it's just cabbage and a little bit of carrots. So that's all it is. And then you've got about a teaspoon of sea salt. And you can add a little bit more, a little bit less, whatever you want. And then about 1/8 of a teaspoon, or pretty much 1 shake of red pepper flakes. I've got all that, and then we're just gonna mix it up and form it into meatballs. You want to get really nice and thoroughly mixed. Get all the flavors in each meatball. And this will probably make about anywhere from 18 to 20 meatballs, depending on how big your hands are, pretty much. The bigger your hands, try to make some slightly smaller meatballs, otherwise you're just going to be making turkey burgers at that point. Okay, that's all nice and mixed. Gonna clean some of this up real quick. And then we're just gonna form some meatballs. Now I take about a handful and just press it in and just make a decent sized meatball. And again, this makes around 18 to 20. Now personally, I like recipes like this because it's kind of like cooking in bulk. You can make a lot all at once, and these last pretty much for about 5 days in the fridge, or you can freeze them and they last for around 3 months. So you can eat them all throughout the week. You can add them to anything you want. They go really good with quinoa, just plain quinoa, or some black rice. Or you can make little sliders out of them using like the butter lettuce. They're really good for spicing things up, because we don't have a whole lot of Chinese recipes or Asian flavors yet, and so we're trying to work on that for the Kaufman diet. Get some more ethnicity in this diet. And once we're done with these, we're going to put them in the freezer and let them set up for just a little bit while we make the sauce that we're gonna kind of saute them in. All right, almost done. Last one. Get all the little bits. Okay, now we're good to go on that. Wipe my hands off a little bit. And then we're gonna put these in the freezer, and then we're gonna make our sauce.
My mom used to make meatballs with flour, mushrooms, put all sorts of things together. These are Kaufman 1 meatballs that Abby is making, and they are delicious. So don't go away. She'll be right back to finish it off. And when she's done, why would you put wellness into a sick building? I'll talk a little bit about that sick building.
Okay, now we're going to make our Thai turkey meatball sauce that goes with it. What you want to do is you want to take a cup and a half of light coconut milk, some tomato paste, put that right in there, fish sauce, and some red curry paste. And then you're just going to whisk that up a little bit. And it's got a nice orange creamy color. Tastes really good. All right, that's good to go. Now we're gonna go ahead and start cooking the meatballs. Gonna get our pan nice and hot. We can use just a little bit of oil. Gonna let that heat up for a couple minutes. Because basically you just wanna brown these. You don't have to worry about cooking them all the way through because we are going to simmer them in the sauce for an extra 15 minutes. So once you're done browning them, if they're not cooked all the way through, that's okay. They'll continue cooking in the sauce, so it's okay. And you can go ahead and reform them if they flatten out a little bit in the freezer. Now, one trick to cooking with turkey meat, it's very delicate, so it's very easy to just kind of fall apart in your hands. So you'll want to be very gentle and also try not to smush around too much because it can fall apart pretty easily until it's cooked, and then you're good to go. And we'll put one more in the middle. Now, you can see my pan is not big enough to do all of them at once, so I'm just going to do it in a few batches. Once these are done, I'll take them out, put them in a pan, and then we'll put them back in later when we do our sauce. Okay. Let these cook for a while, brown them on each side as much as we can. Set them aside, and then we'll cook the rest. You can see how they're starting to get a little bit of brown right there. That's looking good. And you can see how this is starting to fall apart. I didn't let it cook long enough, so I gotta be more patient. Okay, we're done browning our meatballs. They're all good to go, and what we're gonna do now is we're gonna put them all back in the pot, and we're gonna put the sauce on. We're gonna turn our stove back on. And let's go ahead and put our little meatballs back in. They're kind of turned into meat patties, but whatever. They still taste good. And it's okay if you have to kind of squish them all in. It's all right. They'll still get in the sauce. They'll still keep cooking. It's okay. And you'll also notice that some of my patties decided to not be team players and have decided to crumble up on me. But they still get eaten too, so it's okay. They're still gonna taste good. And now we're just gonna pour our sauce on top, and we're gonna let it simmer for 15 minutes. You wanna try and cover everything you can. And start your timer once it starts simmering. All right, our turkey meatballs have been simmering for about 15 minutes now, and they're pretty much good to go. You can see the color has changed to a really nice, dark, rich, tomato-y color. And yeah, they're pretty much done. So we're gonna go ahead and turn this off. And I've got a few different options here for how we can serve them. I've got a bowl of quinoa, and I've got some butter lettuce that you can make kind of like a lettuce wrap in. And I'm gonna show you different ways to do both of those. Let's do the quinoa first. And these are pretty big, so you only need a few. Some sauce all over that. That looks really good. Or again, you can use them kind of like a little bitty slider. sauce. And then I've got some extra chives already cut up. And I've also got some cilantro. It really brings out the flavor. And you can also add a little bit of a lime wedge if you had some. And for more recipes like this, you can go on to knowthecause.com. This is again all Kaufman 1, but be sure to check all of your ingredient labels, just depending on the brand and flavor you get. I also found all these ingredients at a local grocery store, so they're not super hard to find, so this isn't a really hard recipe to do. But I'm gonna take a bite of this. Hopefully it's cooled off enough to where I don't burn my mouth. And yeah. Still kind of hot, looks really good. It's got a lot of really good Asian flavors in there and it's really tasty. But yeah, go on to knowthecause.com, get more recipes like this, and have a great day.
Hey friends, you have to know this when you're watching Know the Cause. We are exposed to fungus and their poisons, they're called mycotoxins, very commonly in our life. Thank God for a good immune system. That's the way the immune system's supposed to work. When a germ comes on board, you make a blocking antibody. Immunomemory means the next time that germ comes on board, it doesn't bother you and so forth. But if you're just bombarded with fungus, I don't know if you're chronically sick or if you can defeat it, if your immune system can defeat it. Now, they say that only immunocompromised people are vulnerable to chronic bombardment with fungus. Wrong. That's not true. Immunocompetent people, people with good immune systems, can also. 3 physicians, each of whom I know, well, 2 physicians and a PhD named Jack Thrasher, who passed recently. What a great man he was. Wrote this paper, and I want to show it to you, and I'm going to read you this. Mold exposure. It has recently been demonstrated that patients who develop chronic illness, is that you, after prior exposure to water-damaged buildings and molds, have the presence of mycotoxins, which can be detected in their urine. We hypothesize that mold may be harboring internally and continue to release ongoing mycotoxins, which contribute to ongoing chronic illness. Okay, isn't that interesting? I got this house dug for $100,000 cheaper because it had some water damage after all the flooding. You're now paying the price. Are you chronically ill? Are you chronically depressed? Is your hair falling out? Does your skin burn and itch? Can't you sleep at night? Okay, look at what else they said in this journal article that came out just a few years ago. Exposure to water-damaged buildings have been associated with numerous health problems that include, and this is huge, fungal sinusitis, abnormalities in your immune system, T and B cells, that is your immune system, central and peripheral neuropathies, asthma, sarcoidosis, respiratory infections, and chronic fatigue. So isn't that fascinating? That so many, and by the by, I have published on cancer, diabetes, heart problems, et cetera, being linked to fungus. These doctors didn't go that far, but they just aren't there yet. One day, somebody, and mark my word, if you're young watching this show right now, in 20 years, they're going to say it's commonly known that lung cancers or brain cancers or ovarian cancers or breast cancer harbor fungal cells. We don't know why that is. Which came first, the cancer or the fungus, folks? I think fungus initiates a chain reaction, lowers our immune system, and bang, we end up with symptoms or diseases. Just understand, inhalation is one very common way, if you're living in a moldy home or a moldy building, that you're being exposed to this mold.
Hi, I'm Jenny Herbacek with the Cancer Connection. Soap. What kind do you use? Antibacterial or not? Countless TV commercial ads paint a picture that antibacterial soaps are the way to get clean. But the truth is, we Americans can overdo it with that antibacterial soap. Our skin was never meant to be sterile. Our skin has many beneficial bacteria on it. They're called resident flora, and they're part of a strong immune system. A daily shower with antibacterial soap washes away a good portion of those bugs and some of the natural oils, which are meant to keep our skin supple and protect it. So lighten up, install a water filtration system on your shower to get rid of the excess chlorine, and use a natural mild soap. For Know the Cause, I'm Jenny Herbacek.
Hey friends, many years ago, 1996, this book was published, Principles and Practice of Clinical Mycology. A doctor friend gave me this book. Mycology is fungus, right? Contributors are Duke University, Stanford, cancer societies, and so forth, bright people. Chapter 17, fungal infections of the lungs, fungal infections of the eye. Chapter 15, fungal infections of the kidney, genitourinary system, the prostate gland, fungal infections of the GI tract, fungus in the blood, and it goes on and on and on. This book, many years ago, said the only place fungus can't grow is in our teeth. Right? So every place else this stuff can grow. Well, how does it do the damage? Is it fungus or does it degrade to a secondary byproduct? And I touched on this with the sick building. This fungus can get inside your body and then begin to degrade. And it spews poisons. Now watch this. Those poisons are called mycotoxins. How do mycotoxins hurt us? Mycotoxins are estrogenic. They disrupt human estrogen. They're mutagenic, changes in our human genetic material. This is unbelievable. This is, your doctor doesn't understand this. I put this slide together myself. I'm the only one with this slide, right? He or she doesn't know this. So mutagenic, it changes our DNA. Tremorigenic, it's capable of causing what we see in Parkinson's. Carcinogenic, causes cancer in humans. Teratogenic, an unborn child. It can affect the DNA in an embryo. Genotoxic, poisonous to our DNA. Neurotoxic, poisonous to our nerves. And penicillin is one of those. Nephrotoxic, poisonous to our kidneys. Hepatotoxic, our liver. Hemotoxic, like venomous bites, poisonous to our bloodstream. Cardiotoxic, poisonous to our heart and our blood vessels. The lymph system is affected, the skin is affected, and there's number 14, and that's an important one. If your immune system declines because you're living in a sick building, you'll go from doctor to doctor to doctor, and they'll just throw their hands up. Well, let's try this antibiotic. Well, there are a billion of us, a billion people, not a billion of us, there's only 350 million of us in America. We're going to the doctors and the hospitals at a rapid pace, 1 billion visits a year, and the doctors don't know this. So what I want you to do is study this. Know that our diet feeds it, that there are safe supplements that you can take to eradicate it, and stay tuned to Know the Cause. Thank you so much for Jenny, for her antibacterial information. Folks, thank you for being here today. Thank you for learning. Medicine is a big business, and sometimes we need it. But sometimes we can figure this out on our own. If you wake up in the morning, there's blood on your sheets, get to a doctor. Good seeing you today. God bless. Bye-bye.